So hello, my name is Jennifer Browdy, and I am a college professor. I've been teaching at Bard College at Simon's Rock for a very long time, and also very active in the community here in the Berkshires. And so when Sherry invited me to do this talk about solo creatives in the Berkshires, actually my mind immediately went to community, because I don't think it's possible to be a solo creative without the community. So I wanted to start by talking first about the Berkshire Festival of Women Writers, which some of you may remember or may have participated in. I founded the Berkshire Festival of Women Writers back in 2009, and I directed it with a wonderful group of sister organizers for 7 years. And I'm going to flip through some slides of festival events. And these are very happy memories for me and were very important to me as a solo creative in the Berkshires. We did hundreds, literally hundreds of events featuring women writers, celebrating women writers, encouraging women writers. And you know, writing is a solo, solitary activity, and yet it's really important to come out and be with others. So we had huge audiences that turned out for our events. And what happened was that we started in March, which is Women's History Month, with a month of events. And they pretty quickly spilled out over the course of the year. People wanted more than just March. Here you can see Danny Shapiro, who was one of our speakers, and Story Publishing came to the book expo that we put on for independent publishers. We had luminaries like Danny Shapiro, and we also had, you know, local luminaries like Hilda Banks Shapiro, who won the essay contest that we ran, and I think she was 87 that year, and she was so excited to read her winning essay at the Mount. So that was very memorable. We also had Diane Patrick at one of our events with Shirley Edgerton and the Rope Girls, and what happened was that I was inspired to do more of my workshops out in the world too. I had been doing all my college teaching, of course, but teaching adults out in the community is quite another thing. And so I ran a writing intensive leadership group for young women at the Mount, which was really wonderful. And this picture on the left is a workshop at the top of Mount Greylock, which is a place I really love to teach. So I'm giving you a sense of how important this community was as kind of a fertile ground for everything that came later. One of the things that evolved from the Berkshire Festival of Women Writers was Greenfire Press, which I co-founded in 2015. And the first book we did was an anthology of mostly Berkshire women writers. And this was from one of our book launch events. So Greenfire Press is still going strong. Here are a few of my recent titles, some of them Berkshire folks, some of them more far-flung. It's been really rewarding to have this outlet to be able to cultivate not just women anymore, but everybody's voices and visions, which we badly need more of. So I have been doing a lot of memoir workshops in the community, and what I'm going to do today is take you through kind of a quick version of a couple of memoir workshops and talk more about my idea of purposeful memoir. What happened in the COVID time was I got bumped online like most other people and started doing online teaching, online college teaching, and found it actually very rewarding. So this class that you see up in the corner there was part of the Bard Open Society University Network, and it had students from Kyrgyzstan and Afghanistan and barred Berlin and Uganda. It was an amazing experience to be able to draw people together from all over the world around a topic, in this case, women's leadership. So from that, I was inspired to work with my childhood friend, a lifelong friend of mine, Audrey Kalman. You can see us here together as children in our favorite apple tree. And as teenagers, we used to get together on the weekends and exchange writing. And we lived on opposite sides of the country, so it had been hard for us to get together. But in the online era, this was suddenly possible. So she had been working as a birth doula as well as being a writer. And we used that birthing metaphor to found an online writing community together, Birth Your Truest Story. And Birth Your Truest Story really extends the kind of creative energy that I was looking for in the Berkshire Festival of Women Writers into the online arena. So it's broader, it's bigger, more people can join. And if you go there and look right now at the Birth Your Truest Story community, you'll find lots of events coming up, including we are just about to launch our first Birth Your Truest Story online workshop series that is a pre-recorded 9-session series. 9 sessions because of the birthing metaphor. And it really takes you through the conception of your idea, the gestation, the writing process, the editing process and revision, all the way into preparing to launch your work into the world. So it's really pretty special, and it's coming up. We'll launch it in the new year, in January 2023. So while all this was going on, of course, I've also been doing my own writing as a solo creative, and I have published 3 solo books. I have a number of anthologies also. My own memoir came first, and then a writer's companion book of writing prompts, and then most recently, Purposeful Memoir as a Quest for a Thriving Future, which combines essays and writing prompts and my photography. So another way that I am creative is photography, and I'm going to share some of my images with you here as well. So I want to talk about generally what is purposeful memoir, and then take you through a couple of what I call the quests, the writing workshop series. So purposeful memoir, and this is the first of a series of my images. And they are mostly in Nova Scotia, where I spend a lot of time, but I also have a lot of course, beautiful images of the Berkshires. So purposeful memoir. It is not just for writers who want to publish memoirs. It's a contemplative practice that's valuable for anyone. It is looking back in order to better understand the present, in order to step more intentionally into the future that we desire. So it really is thinking about past, present, and future. And it's purposeful in the sense that we're asking how sharing our life story could benefit others, maybe others who have experienced similar things, or just, would benefit from our life experience. So I have, over the years, developed some key techniques or approaches to purposeful memoir. The first one was the elemental journey of purposeful memoir, which came to me while I was writing my own memoir. It uses the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, air, as organizing principles for a life story. Earth is the childhood ground of our being. Water is teenage and young adult years, where we step into the stream of life and either go with the flow or start sputtering and swimming against the tide. Fire is our trials and tribulations, but also our passions. So that can show up at any time of life. And then air. Air is the reflective space, the contemplative space, where we're thinking about our own life and what it all means, So then aligning the personal, political, and planetary was something that also came to me through working on my memoir, where I realized that our individual life story is always mapped out on the broader social landscape and environmental landscape. So we live our lives against this broader story, collective story. And how does our individual story align or not align with the bigger stories of our time and place? Then I started to do a lot more with the archaeology of purposeful memoirs. That's what I call it, where we're digging into our ancestral stories and thinking about their personal stories and their broader social stories. So I'm going to take you through one of those workshop series today. And then finally, the alchemy of purposeful memoirs, what I explored in my most recent book. And that is, when I was doing a lot of memoir workshops with people, I noticed that people tend to focus a lot on the challenges of their lives, and the good moments kind of get lost sometimes. And I wanted to flip that and invite people to salute the positive, start with the positive, and then think about transmuting the challenges into life lessons learned. So I'm also going to show you more of that. So when I do these workshops, we start with timed focus-free writing, which I learned from the Bard Institute of Writing and Thinking. It's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. People are amazed at how much you can actually get written if you focus for 5 minutes on a prompt. I do particularly lists, scenes, dialogues, and reflections, and I'm going to show you some of those today. And this is exploratory writing. So I always tell people to remember that the great works of art could not have been produced without many, many sketches. So what we're doing in these workshops is sketching in an exploratory, open-ended way. Not going for perfection, knowing we're going to refine it later, going for exploration. And then if we do this in a group, in an in-person setting or a workshop group online, sharing is always optional and confidentiality is essential. People are often sharing tender truths. And sharing is always optional because I want people to write what's in their heart without worrying that they're going to be asked to share before they're ready. So I'm going to dive into a couple of these workshops and show you a little bit about how I do this. So ancestral archaeology, I divide into people, places, pursuits, and passions. Those I have been coming to call the keys of purposeful memoir. If you can figure out the people, places, pursuits, and passions that have been most important to you in your life, you'll have wonderful keys to unlock your life story. This also works for your ancestors and your ancestral lineage. So to think back into your ancestral history and see what was important for them is a really key first step. So the way I invite people to do this is through a list. Often people don't know that much about their ancestry. I only know really back to my great-grandparents, for example. But you can estimate the generations, and from calculating birth years and probable lifespans and thinking about aligning the personal, political, and planetary, you can estimate and sort of imaginatively envision what might have been important in their lives. So one of the things that we could talk about at length another time is the role of fiction in memoir. Imagination is really an important part of the process. So we start with a list, and then talking about fiction and imagination, we inhabit the voice of an important ancestor and have them write to you and tell you what their life was like. And this is imagination. We don't know if it's right, but you can intuitively sense more than you might realize about their lives. and kind of get into a relationship with them. So we do that through a scene, and then it becomes a dialogue. So then you write back in your own voice and tell this ancestor about your life. And, what about their legacy do you value and want to continue? What would you rather leave behind as no longer relevant or important for you now? And, not wanting to pass that on, perhaps. And then we spend time in that really important space of reflection. So how are you going to be an important link in the chain between your ancestors and your descendants, or the future more generally? How are you going to contribute to the future that you want to see? So that future-oriented approach is really what was preoccupying me when I wrote Purposeful Memoirs, A Quest for a Thriving Future, which I wrote during the COVID period when we were all very concerned about our thriving future. And I also developed this card deck, which is pretty wonderful. It's 54 cards with photographs, my beautiful photographs on one side, and writing prompts from all of these different modalities of purposeful memoir on the other side. So those are available on my website. That book is divided into 8 what I call quests, and they are all seeking positive qualities that we want more of in our lives, that we need more of in order to create that thriving future that we so yearn for. So each quest is a chapter, and it has inspirational stories and an essay by me, and writing prompts, a whole series of writing prompts, and also my beautiful images, which are, I think, inspiring. So I'm just going to quickly talk about one of these quests and a few of the prompts that are in there. Seeking courage. We all need courage, right? And I want to start this, as I often do with my workshops, with a quote by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. It's a beautiful quote. You probably know it. And I'm going to just read it to you. And this is my image here. The next image I'm going to show is the one that's not by me. It's by Simon Paul d'Entremont, a Nova Scotian photographer who does amazing night sky images. So, Clarissa Pinkola Estes says, "One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. To display the lantern of soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy towards others, both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do. When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe, there can be no doubt. But that is not what great ships are built for." So this idea that we need to move past our fears. I think this is something that Brene Brown showed us again with that famous quote from Teddy Roosevelt, actually, about the bravest man is the one who gets back in the arena, who's not defeated by fear. So I always invite people, and this chapter in my book invites people to think about what have you shown up for with courage despite your fear? And what light can you shine in the world that will inspire others and become a beacon for others to show up strongly too? And in the writing prompts that go with this, the workshop, we start with a list. I always like to start with lists of moments from childhood through the present when you showed up with courage to confront any challenges you've had. Then we develop some of those moments into detailed scenes. And again, my workshop series is starting in January online. goes into a lot more detail about how to create detailed scenes. Really important. List moments when fear got the better of you. So another list about fear. And then more scenes about fear. And those can be tough to write, you know. But then we move into the alchemy. So the alchemy is when you use the power of fiction to transmute those moments of fear into moments of courage. And how do you do this? You do it by exploring that wonderful what if. What if I had said this? What if I had shown up differently? What if I hadn't gone there, you know? You write those scenes, and it's amazing what power they have in the present moment to give you courage for the future. And they will, if you share them, they will help others as well. So then we end with a reflection, you know, that really important question. What do you believe in with enough clarity and conviction to show up for with courage despite your fear? And this has been, I think this has been one of the great questions of my life, my creative life. And I just want to come back to that experience of community is really what gave me the courage to show up as a solo creative. It took a lot of years, actually, and it's not easy. But reaching out to community to cheer each other on is the best thing we can do for each other as creatives. And the brighter we shine our lights in the world, the brighter the world will be. So it's important. This is important work. So I am very excited to be able to take this work out into the world again. Before COVID, I was hoping to do writing journeys with people, and now I'm going to do them. So this spring, I have riding and writing in Iceland and in Italy, and you are invited. And also I have a memoir retreat at a villa in Tuscany. You are also invited to that. And all of this is available on my website, which is just jenniferbrody.org. And I look forward to being creative with you in community very soon. Thank you.